Hello, I'm Edgar, the editor of Turn 3. I'm joined here today by nobody. This is just me, and I was editing the video just now and I realized that we didn't have a very enthusiastic intro to the video. And so I'm recording this to throw into the front of the video to hopefully lighten up the mood a little bit before we get started. This video you're about to see is us talking about the Bahrain Grand Prix for the 2024 F1 season. Hopefully you enjoy, and I look forward to having you guys in our journey for the rest of the season.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
First episode ever.
Are we acknowledging that?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
First time ever getting together. First episode, and it's part of the plan.
Yeah. So we're anticipating one per race.
24 episodes for this season, 2024.
Correct.
Formula One season. Yeah.
The Formula One season. So the first race was yesterday?
Correct.
What did you do during the off season?
I was thinking about Formula One.
That's all yep.
I was excited. What was it? I think Thursday was qualifiers.
Yep.
I was really excited to see the cars again. I know we had testing last week, but it's not the same. Not all of the cars are driving 100%. They're just trying different modes, different speeds, different tires, everything, just to have all the data before the racing. And it was great racing yesterday for sure.
Yeah, to an extent, and it's something that people always say is don't pay attention to preseason testing. Times.
Yeah.
It doesn't really tell you anything because they could be testing any number of things, and so it doesn't really have it doesn't really tell you anything about the way that the car is handling. To an extent, they're out there on their own, just testing their own things, and we're spectating. We're just watching them do that. So.
I think most of the teams, they had like a plan and they went through it like a process. Like we're gonna do hard tires first, then medium, then soft, and they went through it. They've got a lot of data from testing, but to be honest, the only thing that you might learn about testing is who's doing the worst, because you can see it right away. But like all of the teams are hiding like their ace on the sleeve. So
that's true.
So yeah, it was a great race this weekend. It was awesome. Bahrain 2024 Grand Prix. It was great.
Yeah. It was interesting to see because who did the fastest laps during those.
Yeah.
None of them it was never Red Bull. Nobody on Red Bull scored the fastest lap during practices. So quali comes around and I'm kind of expecting for there to be sort of a a battle for pole position.
Yeah.
But Max being just Max is Max, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. Max Verstappen is in his peak. He's three-time world champion right now. He's going for the fourth. Most likely he'll get it. We'll see what Ferrari, Mercedes, and Perez has about him, but we'll see. Yeah. Qualifiers also, it's a little bit tricky because Red Bull, they have the best car. I believe they have the best car right now, but in one lap pace, I think Ferrari and Mercedes, they're really, really close to them for sure. Even Ferrari might be a little bit faster in one lap pace than Red Bull.
That's what I was, and it's been said to death probably now by all the major outlets. Leclerc's Q2 time was faster than Verstappen's pole position for Q1, or rather Q3.
Correct.
Which I think is fascinating, right? That means that Verstappen at his best, over a one lap stint, it's kind of on par with the Ferraris.
Correct.
Which I think is very interesting. So what do you think, in your opinion, what is it that separates them, during race times? Like, why is their race pace so much better during race days than it is, say, during qualies or practice sessions?
It could be, Formula One has evolved so much in so few years. We probably the best motorsport out there, like
the pinnacle of motorsports.
Exactly. It's like technology. I was listening to the race, and like even the wind had an effect on the cars, like even 5 miles per hour gusts and stuff like that. So they're really sensitive. So I'm saying like temperatures, they practice at night, and then they practice at end of the afternoon, and they race at night. So temperatures are completely different. So the cars, they just handle different. I think Red Bull, they have a better design. They have a better engine in general. Ferrari, I think Leclerc had some issues during the race.
That's right.
He was locking up a lot.
That's right.
A lot. So there have some reliability issues still. But I think they're going to get on top of it. Carlos Sainz didn't have any issues. He actually got into the podium, P3. So I'm expecting Ferrari to get on top of the issues they have probably next race, if not to the third race for sure.
I hope so. I hope so. The faster, they're able to get their car up to, up to its optimal performance, and they can start, competing with Red Bull for. Look, man, I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful. Yeah. Like to be honest, to be a fan in Formula One right now, it's a Max Verstappen show. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We're looking at who's gonna be P2. It's probably gonna be Checo. He has the he has the car.
He better, dude.
Yeah.
He better.
Like Max Verstappen is showing us that the best car in Formula One right now is Red Bull. So Checo has the best car, so he should be able to get P2 at the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that is one thing. Obviously, our hats, right? Checo fans
We're
here.
Checo fans here.
Fans.
Everybody.
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret. I think you'll see it throughout the season where we have a very heavy bias towards Checo. The performance that he did yesterday is what I would expect from him. Again, Max is at his peak.
Yeah,
he is a world-class race car driver. I think he's gonna have a very successful career moving forward. And last year Checo, struggling in the car in what was very clearly the best car. I had my concerns, I think, is
correct.
Why is he struggling so much? But the performance that he gave yesterday is this is what I expect from him
for sure,
moving forward. And if this is what we're gonna see from him, it should be a clear cut, Red Bull 1-2 for the whole year. And as boring as that may sound, to somebody who is maybe not a Red Bull or a Checo or a Max fan, I think that's what we're in for, and I think we should learn to appreciate what comes after first and second position.
Correct. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I agree with you. The question for me for this season is gonna be how many races can Max Verstappen not win? That's my question,
dude. I
think it's gonna be the longest season. It's gonna be 24 races. I think if he doesn't have a crash or technical something from the car, he could be winning the 24 races for sure.
I want to. I want to see him win all 24, and it's I appreciate his talents, but I wouldn't call myself a Max Verstappen fan.
Yeah, 100%.
But that would be so interesting for a complete knockout, for somebody to just win the whole season.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. There's a lot of it just depends a lot of quali. There's a lot of races that quali, like Monaco. It depends on where you are in quali that you're going to be able to overtake or not. But most likely he's going to take at least 20 of the 24, I think. We'll see. Hopefully the 24. But what does that say about Formula One right now?
That is a good point. Because they introduced a cost cap, 2 years ago? After the current design, the current generation of the Red Bull car, right? And so how soon before we start to see things sort of even out?
I don't see it happening, at least not this season. Red Bull, it's in a league of its own, for sure, the car.
Sure.
The other thing I think is next year, there's not going to be any changes on the rules. I think 2025, there are going to be some changes to the rule.
26,
there you go, 2026. Yep. So I think that depending on those changes to the rule, we'll see if maybe the other teams can catch up to the Red Bull. Okay. I don't see anything happening this season or the next season. We'll see. I know McLaren, they did a lot of upgrades last year that helped them a lot. So we'll see how the other teams develop during the year. But right now, it's Red Bull ahead of everybody else.
And speaking of McLaren, they didn't do so hot this weekend, did they?
I think they're fourth. In my opinion, it's Red Bull right now on top. Ferrari's second, and then Mercedes and McLaren are fighting for third. I think Mercedes is a little bit ahead of McLaren right now.
Okay.
And the development, but comparing McLaren from last year, they had a horrible testing, horrible first first
The
race.
first few races, I think they were
they
just
had like a horrible car, so
on a
they
different planet, I think.
so I'm pretty sure they're okay with what they did to this week.
So from where they started last year to where they started this year, is that what you're
It's
trying
a
to say?
big but from last year they ended strong, so I think they're just continuing that. They developed the car, they made it a little bit better, but pretty much all of the teams made the cars better for sure.
Yeah. One of the teams that I was excited to see and what they were going to do was Alpine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Unfortunately, I think
yeah.
I think Alpine is gonna be probably the worst team this season. I think they have a lot of issues internally. From what I heard, I know the drivers are not happy with the car, with the design, with the teams. What else? I before the race, I was reading also that who was it? The technical development. There was some people just quit right
Did they
before.
really?
Yeah, they like the design, the aerodynamic designer.
Sure.
They just quit right before the race. It's not because of the race, but they quit. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now on Alpine. I think they're gonna be the last.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when was it? It was during practice, and I think in qualies they were towards the end of the grid, I think, right? That's where they started.
Correct.
I don't remember off the top
I
of my
think
head.
they were last. I think they finished 17 and 18, and that's just because of the crash on lap one. It was Stroll, Hulkenberg, and Bottas at the end. It was a little bit three.
Yeah, no, Bottas. The issue with the Bottas was that really long pit stop, right?
Correct, but he did crash a little bit in the first lap, in the first turn.
Okay.
He was at the end, and I think some damage because of that, and then he had to go into the pits, and it was I think the wheel gun when that got screwed up.
Yeah.
So they had I think it was like a 54-second pit stop. So
they kept saying that it was the wrong tire is what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because I've read that every tire is keyed differently,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason they do that is for this very reason that you can't have sets of tires that are different. Like you can't say, oh, I'll put on two new soft tires and two old tires.
It's on the rules also.
Yeah.
There you can get a penalty. I think that happened a couple years back with Mercedes. I think they switched the tires in between them.
Okay.
And they had to go back into the pits to get new ones because it was the wrong tire. So yeah, it's on the rules for sure. So from what I heard, it was the wheel gun, but also they got the wrong tire. So it was a big mistake during the pit, but he was not in a point position either way. So it wouldn't affect Kick Sauber now.
Speaking of points, Yuki and Danny Rick.
Oh my God.
What happened?
What happened? Let's
try to. So Danny Rick was on newer tires, soft tires.
Mm-hmm.
Yuki was on hards.
Correct.
And they were old hards.
Correct.
And they were fighting
Magnussen against Magnussen.
Yeah.
So
for
you
12th position.
Correct. It was 13 or 12. Correct.
13 or so.
There was no points for
there was
playing.
No points to win. Right?
Correct.
And so when the team order comes in and they say, give Danny the position,
Yuki didn't like it.
He didn't like it,
and he didn't give it right away. It took a while. The problem with that is he took too much time, and then Verstappen was in first place, so he already catch up to them.
He was lapping them.
He was lapping them, so that just killed the momentum of them trying to pass Magnussen at that moment. So Tsunoda wasn't happy. Ricardo wasn't happy. I'm pretty sure none of the team was happy.
And just to recap, right? So they tell Yuki to give Danny the position, and a few turns later he does. Eventually he does.
It takes some time, but he does.
And still with newer softs, they still couldn't catch the Haas.
They still couldn't. They again, Verstappen lapped them. They lost the momentum that they were fighting for, and Ricardo never had the opportunity to be able to overtake Magnussen for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't know if you saw is after the race finish on the cool down lap.
Okay.
Tsunoda actually was racing Ricardo after they finished.
I did not see that.
And he was actually kind of just
cut him off.
Cut him off, and there were some communications in the radio.
That's crazy.
And the cool down, so we didn't listen it. I went and I saw a tweet about it, so I went and checked the video of the POV of the drivers, and he cut him up. Yeah,
That's That's crazy. I wonder if this animosity that they have between them, and this is new to me because last year, towards the end of last year, when he took the spot, it's not like I don't remember seeing them.
Well, it could be a lot of things. To me, it's a little bit of childish from Yuki, a little bit
I agree.
childish. But also you're driving at 300 kilometers per hour, so you
That's
have a
true.
lot of adrenaline going through your system.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just Yuki. Yuki is like that. He doesn't have a filter. It's not like he's saying something just to be mean. He's just the way that he speaks
Yeah,
because he's from Japan. So the way that he translates, it just sounds
I see.
like that.
Yeah, I remember there was a. You know how they do those gift exchange around Christmas,
hmm
and he got something, and he says like to the camera like, "This is the worst present ever," or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
He
is
doesn't
very
have a
much.
filter.
Yeah.
That he just translates on his brain, and I think he just say it the way
Yeah.
that he thinks of it.
And on the radio, he says specifically, he's not even quick, or he's not going fast or
Correct, correct.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, do you think Danny Rick will have a better year this year than he did last year?
I think he will have a better year. He's gonna have more time with the car, so he's a
right.
great driver. I think he's a favorite from Red Bull. He's Red Daniel Ricciardo, Red
Yeah.
Bull's history, so they like him a lot. But unfortunately, Red Bull is really really hard.
It's a competitive.
If you don't put points on the board, they're gonna change you. And you have Liam Lawson right now waiting, the reserve driver. He already did a great job last year. So if you don't, Yuki or Ricardo or something happen, even Checo could be like, we're gonna cut you off if you
Yeah.
don't. If you don't
Liam is the reserve driver currently for Red
for
Bull.
RB, yeah, for
Oh,
the second
RB.
team, yeah.
Okay. That name, dude. I know that they were trying to push the V carb for because it's Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, or whatever. That I don't like that either. And then I think all the commentators were just referring to them as RB now. So
RB,
that's I think what I'm gonna do. What a talent from Hulkenberg to get to Q3 in a Haas.
yes, correct. Hockenberg, if you check last year, he does great qualifiers.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, the Haas car is just they don't up. Last year they didn't do much upgrades, and we'll see. I think this year we don't have Gutensteiner with them anymore. They fire him right before the season start. So the new person in charge,
That's right.
he's just gonna. He said that they're just gonna be learning. It's a learning experience. This year they're gonna do the best as possible, but they don't expect much from a
the
Haas.
team this
It's not, they're not gonna get new super upgrades or nothing like that. So
Okay.
I know, like, to me right now, it's Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, then Aston Martin
Aston Martin is good.
is right behind. It's right behind McLaren. I think they're like the 9, 10, depending. You have Alonso and then.
One driver from Aston Martin is very good.
Actually, I was super surprised about Stroll today. He got into the crash on turn 1. So at the end of the turn, the lap 1, he was on 19th place, and he finished on points. He finished 10th.
Oh, did he really?
So he got a
yeah.
point. So he did like a great recovery drive, in my opinion.
Okay, good for him. As somebody who is sort of new to the sport, Formula One, like it's sometimes it can get kind of daunting to keep track of like all the drivers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I'm like focused on the ones that I'm biased towards,
Of course.
and then like the notable ones that are always in the headlines and stuff. And sometimes it's hard to keep track of like, some of the other names that are perhaps not always in the news or in the highlight reels or whatever.
In this race, the first one of this year, we have Max Verstappen, domination completely.
Sure.
He won by 22 seconds or something like that on P2 Perez. But it was also super interesting, like you're saying. I was watching more like the fight over third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah.
I know Leclerc had some issues, so
That's right.
that didn't help him. I know also Russell had some issues too. Mercedes had some issues, so we'll see the reliability with Mercedes. I think it was the power unit that they were talking about. It was heating up too much, so they had to do something called lift and coast on the curbs.
Okay.
So they have to, instead of like braking really hard, you just lift up from from the
gas.
and then you just leave the aerodynamics to stop you. Leave the
Oh, that's interesting.
So-
Who is this that we're talking about?
Mercedes.
Okay.
So both
Because the power unit was heating up too much.
correct.
Okay.
And they found out that that happens when they're behind another car, and that's because the other car in front of them it's kicking out a lot of like hot air.
Sure.
So that's what they're hitting. If they have no one in front,
that
it
makes
wouldn't heat up as much.
So there's a tow, which is obviously when you're following closely behind another driver, and they're cutting the air for you.
Correct.
Okay. Is this the same thing that was happening with like the Mercedes? You said that there wasn't anybody in front of them, and the power unit was still heating up even without somebody in front of
It
them.
wasn't heated as much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The problem comes when they have someone in the front and they're trying to overtake, and they spend too much time behind the other car. Their own car starts heating up, and it's harder for them to overtake because of that reason.
And it's because of the air that. So these cars are designed to go through the air and kind of cut through the air, and then the air helps them push down into the ground.
Correct.
Okay. And then when you're following somebody, the car in front of you cuts through the air, and the air that you do end up getting is very turbulent.
It's turbulent and hot because they're also exhausting all of the gas and CO2. So all of that heating up that happens in the engine, it's coming out of the back, and the car in the back is getting all of that heat.
There's not that nice clean air coming in.
Correct.
Through the. I see what you're saying. Okay.
So sometimes when you see the race and one of them is behind them, sometimes they go to the side so they can get some of the clean air instead of right behind them.
And typically you'll see, right before an overtake, they're sort of behind them, and then it's when they make their move. Obviously, they'll
As
cut
close
left or
as
right,
possible.
but they do get really close to one another, and I think, it's interesting to know that if they don't get out of the way, that there is some more repercussions or things that could happen to the power unit.
But there are rules for that, and sometimes I think I know I have seen it when they say like the drivers cannot like move side to side when they're overtaking.
Correct.
Or like to defend themselves, they can only do one movement or something like that.
One defensive move, yeah.
One defensive move. So there are rules for that, so their crash doesn't happen. I want to say to Formula One, they've been doing a great job in safety precautions.
That's true.
Throughout, it's really dangerous sport, but they've been doing stuff to improve the safety measurements throughout the whole.
Yeah, I've seen some really gnarly like crashes, and to see like Grosjean a few years ago.
I think that's the most well known and most
It's just amazing to me that you could get in a car crash like that.
Yeah.
And
You're
just
talking
walk
about
in.
that. Do you know he was there? He was there. He actually took a selfie where he crashed this year.
Wait, no.
Yeah, there's
like
a selfie. Yeah.
Okay.
He went to Bahrain. He was there, not racing or nothing, just as a spectator.
Sure.
But he went to the track and took a
And took a
selfie where the place where he crashed.
The fact that so they had to let him. Well,
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
he's
like,
a well-known. He probably knows people.
That's true too. We went to Circuit of the Americas for in 2023 the U.S. Grand Prix. There's 3 now, but
The Austin Grand Prix.
The Austin Grand Prix. At the end of the race, they let people just kind of go onto the track, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't know that they did that.
So another thing I wanted to talk about, Williams. They had this is the first year they changed the car. So they used to have all of the cranks and numbers in the car. Now everything's on the wheel as the other teams. This is the first year that they're doing a digital steering wheel for the car.
Oh, is it really?
And they had issues this race with both of them. So it was Albon had some issues with it. He couldn't change the settings or something like that. And also Sargent, something happened that he just went out of the track at some point because of the steering wheel problems.
And I remember seeing that, and I just felt so. Logan Sargent is American,
correct?
Right, and as a Texan, I want him to do well. I want him to perform well. So I hope eventually he steps up. But I saw that and I said, Logan Sargent, come on.
We'll see. He got a point last year.
That is true.
That's what they asked from him. You need to get a point, and you could still continue.
1 point.
And he got the 1 point. So we'll see. To be honest, I don't expect too much from him. I
Okay.
expect too much. I expect a lot from Alex for sure.
Alex Albon.
Their car, I think they did good changes. It was a good development, but until they fix the issue with the steering wheel,
Yeah.
I don't see them going nowhere. I think they're gonna fix it right away, like maybe in the 2-3 next races. And also their car is really fast on the straights, but some tracks are not meant for them. I would say maybe a Spa or Monza. That's where we're gonna see them fighting in the middle.
Okay. So is the issue that they're having with their steering wheel, is it that like a design flaw? Or is it just maybe like user error? They're still kind of getting used to the way that
I think it's an user error. It's the first year that they're trying to. I'm pretty sure they don't know how to. They're figuring it out. But again, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be on top of it right away. And
there was an onboard where they were showing, and I think it was on Albon's car, where they were trying to tell him, over the radio what buttons to press and stuff like that. And again, they're doing 300 kilometers an hour. This is not the time to learn how to use the new product.
Correct. And it's not so much that he was learning. I'm pretty sure they trained for that. It was mostly like they were trying to get him to do some setup, but he was saying like, it's stuck, it's frozen. It's not, I'm changing it and it's not doing nothing.
I see.
So that was the problem. So we'll see.
So he knew how to do it, but there was some issues in there. Okay.
Correct. And again, I think it's because this is the first time that they're doing the digital steering wheel. So we'll see. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna fix it right away. They're not gonna let it go for sure.
It won't stay like that. Okay. Yeah, they we're going back to what you said earlier, is on the straights, that they were very quick on the straights.
Yeah.
I was looking at telemetry data for this particular race, and I was comparing. I said, okay, what is Max doing that he's so much better than Checo, for example? Because Checo was in second, and it wasn't even a close second. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Well, at some point, like there's no point, right? Like even Checo, if they're telling him like he's 15 seconds in front of you, like what's the point? I'm not gonna catch him, so might as well just cruise my race. I think he did that. I think Checo was just managing the tires, and if something like so, in order for Sainz not to pass him, he wasn't fighting for the first place. Max was already too far away.
There was just no.
So he was just managing the tires.
And to go after him for first would mean to jeopardize your second position, right? Because you might ruin your tires, or you could.
Correct. There wasn't the balancing act wasn't there, so he decided not to go for it.
But you could then argue the same for Max, right? Max is 15 seconds ahead, and Checo's 15
Max
seconds
is a
behind.
different breed. I don't know how to explain it. He goes for like they tell him not to go for the fastest lap, and he still goes for the fast, and he gets it. So he's a different breed. He's on his peak. He's the best driver right now with the best car right now. No competition at all.
Yeah. So anyways, sorry. And I'm looking at the telemetry data.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me again. If you're anything like I was a few weeks ago, you probably have no idea what telemetry data is. And that's totally okay. Telemetry data is, from what I've learned, during the race, the cars are equipped with built-in sensors that measure different things, such as the speed that they're going through turns at, the speed that they're taking turns at, where they are in the track at any given time. And all of these things are usually publicized for fans like us to sort of read through and analyze. And there are websites dedicated to that. I'll link to one in the description. And I'll also throw up some charts somewhere here that'll illustrate sort of what I'm talking about. And there is a graph showing sort of like what their velocity is. At the corners.
Yeah.
Every time that there's a corner, you can see very clearly how fast Max takes turns compared to Checo, for example.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is maybe him being a little bit braver in the turns, or feeling just more comfortable doing it, or he's just maybe he puts himself in the racing line is better, the racing line that he takes is better than maybe the one that Checo. What is how can you take those turns faster, and why wasn't Checo doing the same thing?
I think you, Checo, and the whole world have the same question. How does he does it? I don't think no one knows. Even though they have cameras on top of him, all the data and everything, they still don't know, man. So I think he's just in his peak.
Okay.
He's doing the best, and He's just in a different breed. He's a different breed.
That I've heard it said, and I think it's very true. He does not have a day off because when he's not actually racing, like in Formula One, he's on the sim.
Also, another thing, Bahrain track, it's a really unique track. It's a little bit harder, so it's not 100% sure that we're gonna continue with this arrangement of the drivers.
Oh, I see.
We'll see on the next week.
The performance of this weekend is circumstantial based on the track because
Correct.
it's such a unique
It's
track.
such a unique track. Yeah.
If you had to rate it, the race on a scale of 1 to 10, because this is something that I would like to do for all 24 races.
Yeah. I would rate it 6.5 out of 10.
6.5. For me, it's a solid 6 too. I think my excitement for the restart of the season is probably swaying it towards the 6. But if this was a mid-season race, I think it'd be lower.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Saudi? What kind of track is it? Who does it favor? Is that?
I think Red Bull's gonna take it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be really similar to what we're looking at right now.
Is it a very is it a similar track in terms of high speed corners and like how many turns there are?
I don't think it's the same. I would say it's gonna be the same in temperature, maybe weather and stuff like that. But I think in the corners and the straights, I think it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Max Verstappen domination 2024. Let's said it again. The other thing that we didn't say is like this is his 5th Grand Slam. I don't know if you knew he did a Grand Slam this race. On Formula One, a Grand Slam is when you get the pole position on qualis, you get the fastest lap in the race, and you're leader of the
winner.
Race, the whole race, and win.
Oh, okay.
So you don't lose the position even if you pit.
Oh my gosh.
So he did that. And
does that happen?
Yeah,
I feel like
it happens a lot. It's like it's been 100. Well, this one is his 5th time. His 5th
how many of them
Grand
were
Slam.
last year?
I'm not sure.
We'll have to look it up.
This is his 5th Grand Slam, his 55th victory.
Dude.
So we'll see, and 23 more. I think that's it.
That's all I've got, man.
That's all. 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That's how it ended.
Yeah, you're welcome.
First episode
down the drain. How do you feel?
I feel great, man. We'll see where we finish the season.
24. Yeah, definitely. All right.
Episode 1 of 24. 1 of 24.
100%. Sir?